Bye bye, little Sebastian.
Yeah, it's coming up in the next
We miss
video.
you and yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, so good.
That song will be stuck in my head for a week now.
That's
You're
okay.
welcome.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller. Across the screen over that way is Mr. John Bunn. John, how you doing?
Dude, I'm good. It was a fun interview we just had. I'm excited for the listeners to kind of hear all about it. Why don't you tell them what it is?
Yeah, we had Devrie Donalson on from Honeybook. She is a influencer / marketing associate over there. She works a lot with content creators kind of like us, but she answered all of our questions about Honeybook. We get so many questions, people asking us. You see it all over time in videography groups and stuff about CRMs and what those are and what do they do and which one should you go for and all that stuff. And John and I, full disclosure, we both use Honeybook. We both love it. So we had someone from Honeybook on, but we just wanted.
This is not a paid ad.
It is
just so people know.
Just so you know, not a paid ad.
I've always wanted to say that. Not an advertisement. Hashtag no ad.
I mean, it is because we're advertising it, but it's whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
We love CRMs. They save you so much time. Like if you're not using one, it's one of those things that you don't know how much it's going to save until you actually get in and start using it, and how much it's going to free up your life. So we had Devrie on. We talked a lot about Honeybook. We talked a lot about CRMs. We talked a lot about time that it will save you, and how you can even get a week free trial and even save $200 off if you sign up. 50%. It's a pretty good deal. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right on into this episode.
Let's go.
Today we are joined by Devrie Donalson from Honeybook. Devrie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you work for Honeybook. Why don't you take a second and just, describe your job at Honeybook, what you do there, and then maybe for people that aren't knowledgeable of what Honeybook is or CRMs is, why don't you just, take a few minutes and explain all of that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So I've been at Honeybook for about a year and 3 months now. It's been fantastic. I started on a different team that I'm on now. I'm currently an influencer marketing associate. So my job is essentially to work with our educators and our amazing educator program and build that out here. But I started on a team that was client facing and had a lot of product knowledge. So I'm super excited to be here. There's a lot that I can share with you guys. As far as a CRM essentially stands for Client Relationship Management. It's a tool for business owners to manage relationships with current clients, with prospective clients, and CRMs really come in a million shapes and sizes. So there are beasts of CRMs, there are smaller CRMs, and they're all kind of tailored to the businesses that they're working with. So Honeybook is a CRM where I work, and it's really tailored towards the freelancers of the world and the creative small business owners.
So Honeybook, a lot of us have heard of it. Why don't you tell me and the listeners just a little bit kind of about like the culture, the vision for Honeybook, kind of what you guys stand for. Just give us that pitch on like what drew you to Honeybook. What is it about Honeybook that sets you guys apart?
Yeah, I'm actually super glad you asked that, because what drew me personally to Honeybook was the culture here. And it hasn't been a letdown. So there's the kind of the underlying guiding light of Honeybook is our 5 core values, which is what our company was founded on. And those core values are, we are fearless, we are family, we go the extra mile, we love what we do, and people come first. And we try to manifest those both in the direction of the company, the tool itself, and in the culture here as Honeybook employees. So Honeybook just turned 6. It was our birthday a couple weeks ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking good for 6 years old.
Yeah, you look great.
So we just turned 6, which is really cool. And we've grown so much since we started in our founder's living room. It was like a true, startup tale. And now we have 2 offices, and it's really, really beautiful. But more than that, the people who work here are really freaking cool people. It's a lot of folks who came from the creative business industry. So I myself was a florist for about 6 years. A lot of folks on my team have been photographers, videographers, all that kind of thing. So we really approach the way that we deal with our members, the way that we build our product, the way that we respond to feedback from the perspective of I've been in your shoes, which is a really good kind of grounding principle for us. And that comes back to people come first, and we love what we do, and we're family, and we go the extra mile and all that kind of stuff too. So Honeybook is super, super cool in terms of culture and the way that we build things out and the way that it got started, all around those principles.
I say too, like a lot of, what we preach on our podcast involves like really taking care of our clients, really taking time and treating them well. And I know the culture since, I've been a member, with Honeybook, it's been very, customer driven. Like we're heard very well, that kind of thing. So it definitely in those core values sticks out. I guess my first question really besides all that is just, we have a lot of wedding filmmakers. We have some wedding photographers, but mainly wedding filmmakers. Some of them are just getting going, having their first couple of weddings. Some have been shooting, all the way to been shooting for 10 or more years. Yeah. The question, I guess, is just what's some advice for someone new that's kind of looking to grow their business? Is this something a brand new person should jump into? Should we wait till we're a certain size? Just kind of who is Honeybook or what is a CRM? Like who is it for?
Yeah, those are all great questions. I think so. Honeybook itself, I think, is a really good tool for people who are in different phases of their business and is especially helpful for people who are just starting out. And I'll kind of explain why. So when you're just starting out, it's like this brave, awesome kind of leap of faith, right? You're like, I have this thing that I'm good at, and I think that I could do this. And you get to this point where you're like, okay, I'm going to create what I love. I'm going to like bring all this value to people. And then the emails hit you and the contracts hit you and the invoicing hits you and the running, the administration side of a business hits you. And sometimes that's in your wheelhouse. Sometimes that's not, but it just kind of eats away at your time as a 1-person, 2-person, 3-person show to actually produce what you woke up one day and thought, I think this could help people. So our founders originally were a freelancer and a business owner, and they kind of were coming up against the same issue. And we're thinking like, there's not a structure or a tool or a framework in place to really navigate this. So that's kind of what we were born of, was that frustration of, I'm spending 80% of my time managing things and only 20% of my time creating.
Yeah.
Which, can be really, really painful for people and can be really, it can make them kind of lose momentum and feel like, did I make the right choice? And that's something that that's kind of our goal, is to turn that ratio on its head, like 80% creating, 20% running your business. Like, let us kind of build something that keeps you in the creator's seat. And I think for people who are just starting out and are trying to like reinvent the wheel kind of and build a process from scratch, looking at, well, what's my flow going to be when someone reaches out and contacts me? What is my initial email going to be? What information do I need to gather? How am I going to send a contract? Am I going to mail it? Am I going to PDF send it? Am I going to, all of those things? And how am I going to collect my money? Those are really, really important things. And it's sort of hard to kind of gauge when you're just starting out, like, what's the right way for me to set this up? Is it going to be effective? Am I going to start losing people in the in-between? Between it's been a week since we've been in contact, I sent out my invoice a week ago and I haven't heard anything, all that kind of stuff. So the way that a CRM kind of steps in and fills that gap and answers that question of like, how do I do this? Is that it's already kind of built to make that very manual process with these incredibly important moments in the relationship between the client and you, as seamless and as painless and as like wonderful as possible for both parties. So a CRM is really built to kind of streamline your process from the point of inquiry. At least Honeybook is, from the point of inquiry all the way through booking and then some. So it's built to kind of make your relationship with your clients super seamless and easy and professional and beautiful, and represent you as a person and you as a brand. It's built to keep you organized, all that stuff.
Yeah, man. I think it's all great, and you put that, very eloquently, kind of what you do. I will say from personal experience, we were chatting a little bit about this before we actually hit the record button, is I didn't realize before I got Honeybook, and I've been using it for, I don't know, I'm a founding member, so I've been using it for quite a while, and I didn't realize how much of my time, how much of my week I was spending in emailing and tracking down people. Hey, I need this payment, write me a check. Who has checks anymore? Mail it to this, all of that kind of stuff. And, I was getting back hours every week after I got everything set up and automated, so that, I was sending the same email over and over again instead of having to rewrite them over and over and over again. I write it one time and I can just automatically send it out. I think doing payments and contracts online is such an amazing service, not only to us, but also to our clients. Like, we want to make it as simple as possible for them, where they can sign it and pay in like 2 clicks online. So I can't say enough about how much time it has saved me. And I think that that's the real purpose behind this, is talking about CRMs and what they do, is the time that it can save you. And so that you can do what you want to do, which is create, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
And we hear all the time from members who come back to us saying, I knew that I needed something, but I had no idea how badly I needed something until I put Honeybook in place. And now it's really, like, people use the words, revolutionized my business. It's changed my life. It's given me time with my family. It's given me time to reinvest in my brand and grow it, not just sustain it. So many of these goals and these moments that are so crucial for balance and for growth in a business owner's lives are like right there on the other side of this line of time. And something like a CRM can just take that and streamline and automate and create so many shortcuts for you in that process, that all of a sudden you find yourself in this position where you're on this new horizon and you're like, where do I can go from here? I can grow, I can reinvest, I can do all kinds of things. So it really is kind of this beautiful moment. I know this sounds kind of corny, but when I hear back from people who I helped kind of get started and they're like, oh my gosh, my time has changed, my life has changed. We all do a little happy dance. We literally just did it at the marketing pod not that long ago. We all threw our hands up and spun around in our chairs hearing back from somebody who shared something like
That's
that.
great.
So it's a really big deal.
For me, I remember first getting on a different CRM and CRMs are very, very helpful. But I remember just kind of trying to rewrite out each email one at a time, or copy and paste over a contract, or, and one of the things that these CRMs really do is they provide a spot for you to be branding and making it really easy for your couples that are, I can send something and I know it's very professional. It's all branded really well. Everything, matches my, my style and my vibe. But I realized, and that's why we just dropped some email templates into our shop, 40 different email templates that I have for everything for my entire business. I have those all saved as templates. And anytime I run into a situation now, I can click over to my templates and click send, and it's very custom to them with the exact wording that I want to make sure that I write. Because a lot of times you get an email, an inquiry, and it's 7 p.m. and you want to respond. Well, with the CRM, I can click a button and have my initial inquiry email go out, and it's exactly the things I want it to be. It's linking to the right parts of my website that I want it to be. So I put in a lot of work getting everything set up, but now I can be very efficient with my wording. I can be very efficient with my time. And it really not only helps me save time, but it also helps me make sure that I'm booking the right, I'm booking easier and quicker. It makes it very easy for someone to sign a contract, send it back, and book the date. So the other day on a Saturday before a wedding, a bride's mom called or sent a message through our website, which has the form integrated from Honeybook. I immediately gave her a call and was able to send her a contract and book her within 25 minutes of her initially inquiring. And then I went and filmed a wedding after. I was like, I'll take this call real quick. And because I had these email templates and everything kind of set up, I was able to send her some information real quick, shoot her a text message, get on the phone, send her a brochure, and book it. Right, all within about a 25-minute window of time. So it's very, very helpful for listeners on that front.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that really is, I think, the power of something like this is once you kind of build your home base and get it set up, and it's still your business, it's still your brand, it's your words, it's the way that you love your clients, that's all built into it. The automation part of it isn't taking away from that. You can really run things on the go. You have an app and it pops up and you can send it off just like you said. And that's incredible. Like, who's ever heard of simultaneously booking a client in 20 minutes whilst shooting wedding? Like, that's amazing. And that's the level of efficiency and like professionalism and, just incredible service that we are trying to make sure that you can hit.
Yeah, that's great. Another thing that really drew me in, I don't know, this is a while ago, but I don't know, it's been a couple years ago whenever Honeybook officially partnered with Rising Tide Society. And, just that whole idea of the community over competition, that's a big thing that John and I are really big into is, sharing information and helping each other out and not trying to push each other down. So how much does partnering with them, with that company, are you kind of one now, how does that, and how has that, influenced, kind of the day-to-day stuff there at Honeybook?
Oh, yeah. So the reason that we initially kind of got involved with Rising Tide was because our visions were so similar. And here was this already established powerhouse of creating a community where it was community over competition. So it just made sense to partner. And now, since Honeybook does support Rising Tide, they are fairly integrated. They're still their own entities, of course. Like Rising Tide is its own unique self. But we do work back and forth quite a bit. Our social media teams and all that kind of stuff are always in on things together. Natalie Frank, who's one of the founders of Rising Tide, she used to sit next to me before she went back and she just had a baby and all that stuff. We're super happy for her, but we work really, really close together. And that community over competition, it comes in to our daily lives all the time. We really stand behind that as a brand. We stand behind that as, a business. We stand behind that as a community as well. And pretty much it also comes back to that core value of we're family and people come first. And we always try to make decisions and move forward and hear people and respond to people from the perspective of this is a community and our goal is to elevate it always. Our goal isn't ever to be in the space as a shark. Our goal is to be in the space as a rising tide, if you will. So
yeah, that's great. And kind of to go off that, I'm a part of, the Facebook group, the Honeybook Facebook group. And one thing that I have always been impressed with is how you have people that are work there that are always listening to new ideas and, hey, this thing isn't working for me. And someone will, well, email us and we'll figure it out, being very responsive. But also, I think it's great is people have been asking for certain updates and people have been asking for certain things. And you actually have people that are there listening and are writing that stuff down and working on it. So
imagine that.
Yeah. Canon cameras, where you at? And why don't you kind of talk about that and how that has really maybe helped your clients and, whatever, but, just that whole idea of listening and then trying to implement things that people suggest.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So that is really our kind of guiding light for the way that we build our product. Nothing comes from the perspective of, wouldn't this be neat? Everything comes from the perspective of, what have we heard from our members and people who aren't our members about why they're not, or from our members about how this could be better. And we collect that, we collect it in hard data, we collect it in conversation. We have really strong relationships with a lot of people, just kind of person to person, that our members as well. So we often we collect that feedback in a lot of different places, and that is what becomes our next feature, our next goal, what we put resources towards, what product team is working on, all that kind of stuff. So that really is, I think that's one of the reasons that this working here at this company, I've never had a day where I woke up and thought, man, I don't like what I do, because you come to work and it's really a service role almost more than anything. It's taking care of people who need something and who are trying really hard at something really important. So that is how we collect data. We do have an amazing support team. They're some of my favorite people. They're all here in our San Francisco office, and they're full of humor and grit and problem solving. They are prolific at gift sending. If you ever need a pick-me-up, they have the most incredible library of gifts and use them like, true artists.
How do I get one? How do I get a gift?
Chat in and say, I heard you're great at gifts. And just see what you get.
Yeah,
because there's a competition for gift king and gift queen in the office.
The office? No. I don't want to go off on a tangent about the office. We did before we hit record.
Oh, no.
Okay, so I'm sitting here listening, and obviously Nick and I are big fans of Honeybook. I don't want it just to be like only talking about Honeybook. I want to talk about just like CRMs in general. For people that don't use one, could you just kind of walk through just the capability of what somebody can do with one of these? I know we could have covered this a little earlier, but I as I'm sitting here thinking, I'm thinking maybe there might be somebody listening that's like, just on the fence about getting a CRM. And so like beginning to end, what all can Honeybook or a CRM do for a wedding filmmaker?
Oh, absolutely. And like, first, I want to just say that if anyone's listening and is like, I've got a process and it works pretty well, I hear you. I've been in those shoes. I've had so many friends in those shoes. And that is the reality, that the idea of switching over to a new system is incredibly daunting. So I see that. I see that reluctance and I get it. The reason that I would encourage someone to make the leap is that one, kind of like what Nick was saying, like you don't realize how much you're missing out on in terms of time and creative energy by managing all of these things pretty manually. As far as what a CRM can do in general, it can have your templates stored. It can let you send off communications really quickly. It can have your contracts with your e-signing so that your client can get your contract in line at the grocery store and sign it with their finger and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. It can have your invoice the same way. And those things are super important. And the kind of the core, getting you booked and paid is the core of what we do. But beyond that, a CRM is really to help you manage your relationships with your clients, not just your transactions. So that's looking at the quality of your conversations. Are you able to track your emails and open up something and see, what have we talked about so far? What has this person shared with me that they really need? Are you able to know what you have coming up at a glance? Are you able to keep track of your financial well-being? How's your bookkeeping going? Reporting, that kind of thing. Are you able to customize your process and still have it run really smoothly? All that kind of stuff is built into that client relationship. Are they experiencing a branded experience from the point that they reach out to you all the way through? Are you being represented holistically? All of those things are super important. So it is the nitty gritty of like, you can get your contract signed online and paid, which is critical, but there's more to that relationship. And the CRM tool really helps you elevate and manage all of those little pieces that might be falling by the wayside in one spot and easily. So yeah, I think that for people who are considering it, especially for people who are starting out, even people who are really well established, a good CRM tool should be able to grow with you. If you're just starting out, it should be able to give you what you need and inspire you to grow. If you are already like up in the big leagues, it should be able to streamline your process and give you more to reinvest back into your brand and do whatever you want to do. Like, what's your next, step in frontier? So a CRM tool is really, it's kind of like having someone on your team. It's like having somebody that is not on your payroll and isn't someone that you're like having to text in the middle of a day, but it is having something there for you to rely on. It's a structure, it's a framework. And in the case of Honeybook, I can't speak to other CRMs because I don't work there. But in the case of Honeybook, we really try to constantly go back to, we are on your team. So we've got our support team. We're on your team. Me, I work with our educators. And if I get an email, I get a text, my response is like, oh my gosh, let's brainstorm this. Let's figure out the best possible outcome for you and let's implement it. How can I get you resources? What do you need from me? And that really is the way that we try to consistently interact with our members, because their success is our success and they are our family and our community. So it is kind of like having a team in this, kind of isolating world of owning your own business. It can be I know that it can feel a little lonely sometimes. We want to be someone that you can think of like, okay, well, at least, I've got this team that's here to support me if I need tech help, if I need this administration help, if I need ideas. We're here for that. So a CRM it's a technical tool and solution, but it also can be kind of a community and solution to feeling like you're on your own, and you shouldn't feel that way. And that's kind of how we try to approach things.
Love all that. That's all good. When you were talking, it made me think of a couple things that I do with our CRM. And that is sequencing, so putting people in workflows and things like that. I know that with my life, someone might inquire with me, I might talk to them for a second. And if I don't think about it, if I don't put them on a list,
yes,
I forget that they even exist. I forget when their wedding date is. But now with having, the CRM, we're able to, when someone inquires or when someone books, we can set them into a workflow.
Yeah.
Where I have put, 1 week after they book, this happens. 6 months before their wedding, this happens. 3 months. So talk to me a little bit about how that kind of a thing can work within a CRM. Just the whole putting things into reminders and workflows and things like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really powerful and awesome tool in a CRM. And it is kind of how you're describing it, because you go through a similar process with your clients. Everybody's a little bit unique, but your process as far as reaching out, gathering information, the follow-ups, what's coming up, you can build those into your CRM, into your system, and it can run that time and move them from stage to stage without you having to mentally be aware of okay, in 6 months, I have to do this. I'm going to set an alert on my phone. It's not asking you to do that. So it does this really cool thing where, at least our workflow tool, you can set up a workflow, and as it moves you through stages, it'll actually pull if there's a task related to the next stage. So let's say somebody inquires with you, and the first step in that workflow, it drops them into a workflow because you've set it up that way. The first step is to send off a brochure, which is, a list of your services. And the next step in that workflow might be a follow-up email 3 days later. So instead of you writing down somewhere or post-it noting, okay, follow up in 3 days, it's going to generate that as a task for you, push it into your task list in Honeybook. So when you open that up for the day, there's going to be a list of everything you have coming up. Do you have a project? Do you need to send an email? Do you need to call your mom? Do you need to take your dog to the vet? You can write anything that you need to in there and manage pretty much your entire day within that list. And it keeps you organized that way twofold. So one, it's moving through your workflow. You know that it's somewhere, you know that it's safe, you know that it's in a structure that you can go back and rely on. And it's going to remind you. It's going to be like, hey, John, you got to email that person.
Yeah.
So it is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and for me...
go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
You go.
Okay. I was just say, I have email templates that it's 6 months before the wedding, this goes out, and 3 months, and then the questionnaire goes out, and it just makes... with my brain, I'm not one that, loves lists and loves... it is that extra support, like you were saying, just I've done it once where I put all of the workflows how I want them, and I can change those up. But once somebody is booked, they're put into a booked workflow, and then I'm getting all these reminders of things that I need to do as I need to do them at the right time. Even after the wedding, I'm getting a notification hey, it's been 6 months, send this email or whatever. So
exactly.
All right, Nick, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So whenever someone says, "Why should I use CRM? Why should I use Honeybook?" I list kind of thing. There's the signing the contracts and the payments, and it's all in one place, and the email templates and all that kind of stuff. It's a great service. But one thing, I know that you guys have been working behind the scenes, to add some new products and, reinvent yourself or adding new things. And one of the things that I've found really cool is the brochure that you have just launched, which basic, before it was kind of, a kind of a page where it says, here's my services, here's my contract, sign it, and it's that. But now, you want to think of it as almost like a web magazine kind of, where you can design it kind of however you want it, and then you just stick your information, payment information and stuff in there. I found it very nice and neat, and I've been able to brand it how I want it, and it can look how I want it to look. So how was that process, getting all of that together to get that brochure, so that it would be really on brand for your clients to send out to others?
Yeah, so that process started a while ago, and what we initially thought would just be kind of a brief, facelift for the brochure became a much more involved process, because we were hearing from our members, hey, we need this to be more customizable. We need it to represent us. We need this to be flexible and to be able to take the shape of different kinds of files. And once we started hearing that, we completely changed our direction, because really that's what it's about, is making sure that we have a product that fits. So, the process was actually really cool to see from the inside, because it was late nights. It was, blood, sweat, and tears going into that thing. But what came of it is this incredibly beautiful, dynamic, wonderful file that you can customize it. It can represent your brand. It can be a mood board. It can be something as simple as, a traditional brochure. It can have your values, who you are as a creative, where you come from, pretty much anything that you feel really communicates you and your brand when you need it to, you can build into that file. And so, and that did come directly from feedback from a lot of people in our community that were like, this is what we really need out of this. So we were really excited to launch it. We've had a lot of really wonderful feedback, and it is just freaking-tastic. So I'm so glad to hear that you like it too. Yeah. And it's only going to, keep getting better.
Yeah. Your next step would be to add, so I can put a video file in there somehow.
Yes, that's noted.
Yeah, that's your next step. So another thing that is fairly new, so many people, that are listening to this, they have their wedding brand, but they also have their corporate brand. And, they might make those a little bit different, the look of them and the feel of them or whatever. And I know that this is fairly new, that Honeybook has just recently launched, you can have multiple brands under the same account, right?
Yeah. So we're super excited about that too, because the truth is, so many of us are like the spinners of many plates and the wearers of many, many hats. And we're different people and doing different things and running different businesses and multi-talented. So some people are, they're branding, they're designing, and they're doing photography. Some people are doing corporate photography and wedding photography, or corporate videography and wedding videography. And we knew we needed to provide the option for people to run both in one space. So we did just launch that fairly recently, our multi-company. It's so easy. You just kind of go into the account that you already have, and there's literally just a little drop down that says add new company, and you just add it in there. And then you have your master company, and you toggle from everything underneath it. And it's been absolutely incredible. And it's been a proud moment for us here at the team, because it was like, somebody needs something and you show up with it, and hearing them be like, thank you so much, this is what we needed. We were like, yes, I'm so glad. So it's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
We did it.
And that's great. And again, in you saying this, it really, I think it hears the heart of the business and listening. And, you're talking about, family and working, with your clients and stuff is like a core value. And, just hearing that this is the feedback that we got, okay, we're actually going to do something about it. I think that's really cool. And then another new thing you just launched was your client portal. And I kind of saw the announcement, but I was doing something else. So, I didn't. So I actually have no clue what that is. So why don't you just, kind of share what that feature is?
Yeah, so this was another in response to feedback from folks who needed something move on our part. So initially, the way that Honeybook works is when you send off something to be signed, booked, interacted with by a client, they don't have to sign in to anywhere there, they just click the button in that email and it brings them to that file, which for a lot of people is preferable. They don't want their clients to have to do any extra work. They just want them to open that up and sign, and there you go. So, but we also heard from a lot of people that they wish that their clients kind of had a space for them and a hub to feel like they had a place where all of their things are organized. They had a place that they could go. And that would bring them a lot of peace of mind and really elevate their relationship with their clients. So Client Portal is an option. You can still do things the way where you don't have to sign in. They don't even interact. They barely know they're talking to Honeybook. Like, it's completely you. Or you can create your own unique URL, send that over to your client. They can create a login and have a place where all of that is saved for them to sign in and say, okay, I'm going to go log in to, this site that was sent to me by my vendor. And when I open it up, I'm going to see my contract, my files, our communications, like that's going to be my space. So there's two options now, and they serve, I think, different folks in different kind of sectors and what they're doing in different styles. But that Client Portal was just kind of a direct response to folks saying, man, I wish that I could give my clients their own unique space. And we were like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So we built that out, and it's an awesome option for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here, okay? And if you can't say anything, you don't have to. Is there anything in the pipeline that you guys are working on that you can share with us that maybe would be really interesting? Or is this like, nope, like...
We won't tell anyone except for all of our listeners.
The dozens of people that listen will be the only ones that will hear this.
Okay, I will share with you something pretty exciting just because I like you guys. So we, of course, are always optimizing and elevating what we already have. So that's always, our pipeline is constantly moving. But something that we're pretty excited about right now is kind of financial product options. So the problem that we kind of identified was that in the freelancer space, in the small business ownership space, financial institutions couldn't provide really excellent financial products to people because they don't have the traditional pay stub or the traditional, here's proof of consistent income, the way that a lot of people do, because they're running their own small businesses and life looks different. And so there was this gap in that industry. So us being in the unique position of having proof of contracted future payments, thought, well, heck, we can provide a bunch of credibility to folks. And from that perspective, we were like, isn't it kind of our responsibility to create access to better financial products for our members? So we're in the very beginning stages. It's the young kind of brainstorming around what that's going to look like. That being said, if anybody, you guys or people listening, have ideas or feedback about any of that, please reach out to me. I would love to hear it. You can email me. We would love any sort of feedback or thoughts, because obviously this is for you. But it, from that perspective of like, what's missing for our members, and how can we elevate the experience of being a creative freelancer, a small business owner? That was kind of a thing that we really settled on, and then thought.
You're talking about being able to provide proof of income for people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we're looking at essentially like things that normally folks would need really established, credit, and looking at, here's our proof of income and everything in order to have access to certain financial products from big financial institutions. And that can be kind of difficult when you're coming from a different space. We are looking at saying, okay, we can provide proof because here's all these contracted.
So like whenever I need to go buy a car or something, they're like, how much money do you make? Where's your pay stub or whatever? And I'm like, I don't have one of those. This is theoretically something that you're trying to put together where, okay, look, they have booked X amount of dollars out for the next 2 years. Like, we know that information. So you're really looking out for us to try and help prove some of that stuff too, like life stuff that we need, loans or cars or big purchases or something like that. Okay. That's
cool. The idea. That's the idea.
I'll take that info. You were talking to, and I wanted to hit on this before we finish up. So I was using a different CRM up until like less than 6 months ago. And they were a little harder to deal with. It was a little more clunky. I was really afraid to switch from that CRM to HoneyBook. Nick would always be preaching, man, HoneyBook's, it works. It's easy every time that, I would work with, I worked with different venues that would send me over, different, this bride wants to book you, or information. It was just always such a great interface. And so I thought to myself, well, I'll give it a try. But I was really afraid to onboard from one CRM to another. And what Nina, my assistant, really, really loved was basically you guys did all of it. Your team did that. And it was wait, what? You're going to import all this stuff for us? So maybe just hit on that for a little bit. If somebody has a CRM, not trying to poach necessarily, but if they've been considering HoneyBook, what does the process look like for that, or somebody that's just new to onboarding them into the system?
Yeah, that's a huge concern. That's absolutely. And it's so much effort, and it's pulling from your resources. And like I said, we're kind of a company made up of people who have been in those shoes. So we get it. And part of our goal in bringing people, because obviously we just want to be a tool that's helpful. That's our goal is to help people. And part of that evaluation process came down to, okay, well, if people are moving their pre-established systems over to us, that's clunky and painful and scary. And how can we kind of relieve that for them? So we do it. We do account setup for every single new member. There's no threshold or anything like that. You can send us your, pre-established contracts, questionnaires, and pricing guides, and we will set them up in your account as custom templates that reflect, your own business. And then we also will bring over, if you have current clients that you're like, gosh, I've already sent them a contract, but they still have an invoice and I don't want to resend them something, and that's not a great experience for them, we actually bring those over too. So you don't really miss a step there, and build those into your platform. And then I know you didn't ask about this one, but I think it's important. We don't want to just build out your templates and then throw you in the deep end and be like, well, we did our part, kid, good luck. So we have every single week, multiple times a week, free and consistent webinars with our support team, who are the deepest product experts, going through everything that you could need to know about HoneyBook. So we set up your account and then we teach you about it. And so we have HoneyBook 101, 102. So and hopefully might be turning that into a series to go a little more in depth. But we go through in 101 pretty much all of the basics. By the time you finish that walkthrough, it's about 45 minutes of your day. You can use HoneyBook. 102 goes into, brochures, workflows, some of that more nitty gritty for how to really perfect it. And then there's also an office hours. So TBT to when we were in school, but you can tune in with your questions and, chat in live with an instructor, and she'd be like, oh, wow, John, great question. Let me show you, and just pull that up and show you right there. So we try to make sure that you are supported.
It's so very much customer friendly. That's what I've really enjoyed about it. It was so seamless. I was because of the last CRM that I had was just so hard to get a hold of them, and so hard to really, connect and get help. And so by the time that, I was like, I'm sick of this. Let's try it. Look, let's go for HoneyBook. Let's try it. Yeah. We've made that switch, and it was I didn't realize it, but it just helped me to start sprinting, Yeah. I mean, it doesn't do everything for me, but it just makes it so much easier to do the things that I need it to do. So yeah. So that's great.
That's great. So we're kind of running close on time here today. Devrie, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you really need to share?
I'm a bit of a sap, so I think that just to kind of bring it home. And this is 100% me being sentimental, but I do really want to convey that our member success really is our success. And we do things like have dance parties when someone tells us they got, they 3x'd their income in a year with our tool. We do things like when somebody tells us, hey, we're coming to San Francisco. If any of my educators are like, we're coming that way, I'm like, girl, we're getting coffee. We're going out. It is a family. And it's really been an incredible team to be a part of. And I think that our members often feel like they're a part of that team too. So as far as being in the space of being sort of a solopreneur, a freelancer, somebody who's done the big, brave thing of venturing out on their own, we really do want to answer that question of, am I in this by myself? And we want the answer to be, of course not. We're here for you, and we're part of your team. So that's my that's my spiel.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Love the attitude of you guys, and hearing about all of that. And so another thing that, as people are listening, they're like, hey, Honeybook, that might be right for me. I'd like to try it out, but I don't want to pay for it right now. We do have a 2-week free trial that you can have.
It's a 7-day trial.
Okay, 7 days.
And
7
it gives
days.
you full access to the platform. So there's nothing that's, you can only unlock when you become a member besides multi-company. But besides that, it gives you full access. And there's an entire team of individuals whose only job is to answer all of your questions, to take you through the platform, to make sure, essentially their job is to make sure that it's going to be really helpful for you. And if it's not, they'll tell you. If it is, they'll tell you. And so you have somebody there on your side too to help you evaluate, because it is hard to look at something and think, can I envision this a year from now running my business with me? Mm-hmm. That's a difficult thing to do. So we do have that trial. And then to further kind of ease that anxiety, we do have a 60-day money back guarantee period. So you get 2 months if you become a member to really evaluate it.
That's great.
And if for any reason you decide it's not what you wanted, you get fully refunded in 2 months.
Yeah. So not only can we give you a week free trial, a 60-day money back trial, we also have a promo code that you can use to give you 50% off if you sign up. Yeah, that's saving you $200. We'll save you $200 if you sign up.
Literally handing them money.
Yeah.
Handing them money. Yeah.
So we'll have the link down in the show notes below if you want to click on that. And if you sign up for your week trial, you sign up, then you save $200. That's a pretty good deal if you ask me.
Woo! Yeah. We're here for it.
Yeah. So John, you got anything else?
No, I mean, the only thing is just to kind of where we can reach Devrie. If any of our listeners have any questions, that kind of stuff, where's the best place to get in touch with them? And then you land that plane.
Yeah.
You can absolutely email me anytime. My name's kind of complicated to spell. I can spell it now, or we can put it in the notes or whatever it is.
Either way.
Perfect. So that'll be there for you guys. Please email me if you have any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. That's kind of what I live for. It's what I thrive on. So I'm happy to hear you out. And I'd love to hear from anybody who's taking the time to listen to this. And just from my perspective, thank you to anybody listening for taking the time and investing part of your incredibly busy, life and day into learning more about this. And if this does sound like it might be helpful for you, we're here to help you figure that out. And we'd really love, essentially, we just want to see the creative community thriving. And that's our goal. And thank you to you guys for having me on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to do that. So if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube or on the podcatcher, make sure you review us, share this with someone that might like it. If you're on Facebook, we have a Facebook group. Search for it, just How to Film Weddings. Yeah, you can.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you can join that and be a part of the conversation. Also, we have a website now, howtofilmweddings.com. You might want to go there. We have some email templates and a questionnaire that will go great with Honeybook or the CRM of your choice that you might want to purchase. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, we'll see ya.
See ya.